the WNBA world has been rocked to its core just moments ago, as a bombshell revelation detonated across every screen, every social feed, every sports show in America. Caitlin Clark has officially become the highest-paid athlete in the entire WNBA for 2025, leaving Angel Reese and A'ja Wilson completely off the list, nowhere in sight, not even close. The announcement hit like an earthquake, triggering immediate outrage, disbelief, and a frenzy of accusations from fans, players, insiders, and even league executives scrambling behind the scenes. And in the middle of this chaos stands CaitlinClark.com, collected, and suddenly more powerful than anyone ever imagined. The numbers are staggering, so staggering that insiders claim they warped the entire economic future of the league. Clark's endorsement avalanche, her media dominance, her record-shattering market impact, everything has collided into a financial explosion that pushed her above tennis stars, Olympians, and global icons. But as Clark rises, the shadows around her grow darker. Angel Reese is reportedly livid, blindsided, and calling this the biggest disrespect of her career. A'ja Wilson, a former face of the league, is said to be stunned silent, watching a younger star eclipse her in a way nobody predicted, and now tensions are erupting in locker rooms, front offices, and private group chats across the WNBA. Rivalries are reigniting, alliances are collapsing, careers are being questioned, because this isn't just a paycheck. This is a power shift, and it's about to get so much worse. Long before the world declared Caitlin Clark the highest-paid athlete in the WNBA for 2025, long before her name dominated every endorsement boardroom and every national headline, there was a quiet storm brewing beneath the surface of women's basketball, a rivalry built not just on competition, but on identity, pride, and the desperate fight for recognition in a league where every dollar feels like a declaration of worth. Caitlin Clark didn't simply arrive at the top. She clawed her way toward a spotlight so blinding that even the league's established stars, Reese and A'ja Wilson, felt its heat tightening around them like a vice. Clark's rise began in the chaos of 2023 and 2024, when her college career became a global spectacle, sold-out arenas, viral clips, shattered viewership records. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was transforming it into something cinematic. Audiences who had never watched a WNBA game in their lives suddenly knew her name. Brands lined up without hesitation. Media outlets framed her as the future of women's sports. Her impact created a ripple so massive that league governors and sponsorship executives privately admitted that Clark alone tripled their projected revenue forecasts. She was no longer an athlete, she was an economy. Meanwhile, Angel Reese entered the league under a different kind of spotlight, a fiery, polarizing mix of swagger, spotlight hunger, and emotional volatility. She thrived on controversy, leaned into drama, and embraced the role of a disruptor. But with that image came expectations she believed she could meet through charisma alone. Her fans adored her, but brands hesitated. Her numbers were solid, but her public persona was unpredictable. And the WNBA, desperate for stability, noticed A'ja Wilson, the league's veteran powerhouse, carried the burden of respect. Former MVP champion, face of Team USA, she believed she had paid her dues. She had weathered league politics long before Clark or Reese stepped onto a professional court. She fought for equity, for visibility, for legitimacy. And now, as a new generation stole the narrative, A'ja found herself drifting between admiration and resentment, watching headlines shift from her accomplishments to Clark's meteoric rise. Behind closed doors, the emotional tension between these three women simmered. Angel Reese's camp insisted she deserved equal endorsement opportunities. They shot emails, made calls, pitched campaigns, but companies kept circling back to Clark. Executives whispered that Clark had the mainstream touch, a crossover appeal they couldn't teach, couldn't manufacture, and couldn't ignore. It was the kind of star power that made corporations rethink their entire marketing budgets. A'ja, on the other hand, felt a deeper pain, one that came from years of pushing a league forward only to watch a rookie become the financial axis of the sport. She wasn't angry at Clark, she was angry at the system that failed to elevate her at the same scale. But resentment doesn't need logic, it just needs a crack. And this announcement was more than a crack. It was a rupture, and Clark, for all her humility, felt the pressure to. Every time she stepped on the court, the weight of the league's future pressed against her chest. Every headline calling her the savior of the WNBA tightened the expectations. Every contract raised the stakes. Fans saw dominance, but Clark felt survival, and survival demanded perfection. So when Sportico leaked the bombshell list, the highest paid Female athletes of 2025 and Clark's name landed above Olympians, tennis stars, soccer icons. The emotional landscape of the WNBA changed forever. Angel Reese's name was nowhere. A'ja Wilson's name was nowhere, not even close to the top 10. The shock hit social media first, fans erupting in disbelief. How is Angel not listed? Wait, nay, Chaj Wilson. This is rigged. Is Clark really that big? What is happening? But the real emotional explosion happened privately. Reese reportedly stormed out of practice early, her phone buzzing nonstop with messages from agents, friends, and teammates sending her the list. Sources say she stared at the numbers in disbelief. Clark's $16 million payday overshadowing her entire career trajectory. The rivalry she once leaned into for attention suddenly became a brutal mirror, reflecting everything she wasn't being offered. A'ja Wilson sat in silence with Team USA staff, her expression unreadable. She had fought for fairness, for investment, for recognition, and a rookie leapfrogged every battle she had ever won. And Clark, she received the news alone, quietly, overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all. She didn't celebrate, she didn't post. She simply stared at her phone, knowing that her rise was about to ignite a firestorm, unlike anything the WNBA had ever seen. Because this wasn't just a ranking, it was a shift in power. A shift that would pull every rivalry, every grudge, every insecurity straight to the surface. And someone, maybe everyone, was about to break. From the moment the highest paid list hit the internet, the WNBA felt like it had been split wide open. What should have been a celebratory moment for women's sports instantly warped into a brutal, suffocating storm centered on three names: Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and A'ja Wilson. But beneath the public reactions and explosive debates, something even darker had started to unravel. The league itself, already stressed by locker room politics, fractured team cultures, and internal resentment, found itself teetering on the edge of a full-scale identity crisis. And all of it was triggered by a single number next to Caitlin Clark's name: $16.1 million. A figure so staggering, so disruptive, so wildly beyond anything ever offered to a WNBA player that it felt less like a salary report and more like a declaration of war. And for Angel Reese, that number felt like a direct shot to the heart. For weeks, her agents had been feeding her whispers: brand deals coming soon, fashion lines in development, media commitments being negotiated. Reese believed she was on the cusp of a financial explosion of her own. She believed she had finally matched Clark's momentum. She believed the league finally saw her as a top-tier star, not just a personality. But the list shattered every illusion in one merciless moment. Suddenly, every room she entered felt different. Teammates went quiet around her. Coaches looked tense. Even friendly reporters avoided eye contact, because everyone knew exactly what that list meant: not just who earned what, but who mattered most to the league's future. And it wasn't Angel Reese. Behind closed doors, Reese's emotions spiraled. At first, she tried to laugh it off, brushing aside teammates who asked if she was okay. "It's just a list," she said through gritted teeth. "People know my value." But when the cameras disappeared and the locker room cleared, she slammed her water bottle into the wall, sending it ricocheting across the floor. The sound echoed through the empty hallway like a warning shot. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson, the veteran face of women's basketball, felt a different kind of pain, one rooted not in insecurity but in betrayal. She had spent years fighting for visibility, battling for better pay, advocating for investment. She was the cornerstone the league once leaned on. But this list did more than overlook her, it erased her. Her agent sent her a short message: "We need to talk." Everything just changed. Wilson didn't respond. She didn't have to. The silence said everything. League insiders described her reaction as cold, controlled fury. A veteran with her resume: MVP titles, championships, Olympic dominance, should never feel disposable. Yet that's exactly how the list made her feel. And at the center of their rage, confusion, jealousy, and heartbreak stood Caitlin Clark, unaware that her financial triumph had become the spark that would ignite one of the biggest internal conflicts the league had ever faced. She walked into practice expecting a normal day. Instead, the room felt frozen. Conversations stopped the moment she entered. Players stared at their shoes. Coaches exchanged quick glances. Clark felt it instantly. The tension was so thick she could barely breathe. She tried to keep her voice steady as she asked a teammate a simple question about a play. The teammate gave a tight smile, nodded, and walked away without answering. Clark's chest tightened. She wasn't stupid. She knew exactly what this meant. She had become the target. Later that afternoon, The first real explosion erupted not publicly, but in a private group chat used by several high-profile players across the league. A message leaked within minutes. Funny how the league pushes one player like she built this place alone. Another message followed. 16 million. For a rookie who didn't even finish her first season healthy. Nah, something's off. The third message was the spark. Angel deserved that spot. Aja deserved that spot, not her. Within hours, the chat was flooded with screenshots, reactions, and angry voice notes. Some players defended Clark, saying she earned it through impact alone. Others doubled down, calling the list rigged, biased, and politically orchestrated. Then came the first shocking twist, one that no one saw coming. A leaked internal memo from a major sponsor surfaced on Twitter. It was a confidential document outlining why Caitlin Clark had been chosen for a historic endorsement package. The memo included a line that detonated the entire WNBA community. Angel Reese and Aja Wilson lack sufficient national appeal to justify long-term financial investment compared to Clark. The internet exploded. Reese saw the line within minutes, staring at the words in absolute disbelief. Lack national appeal, she whispered to herself, scrolling over the sentence again. Me, Aja, are they serious? Her hands shook, her heart pounded, her entire body went numb, because that memo wasn't just corporate strategy, it was character assassination. Aja Wilson was equally stunned. She texted her agent, "Did they really say that? After everything I've done?" Her agent sent back a single reply, "Yes, and there's more." The more was devastating. The memo included statistics comparing players. Clark equals highest merchandise sales, Clark equals highest social engagement, Clark equals highest TV viewership, impact, Clark equals highest sponsorship conversion value, Clark equals projected to become the face of women's sports globally. Meanwhile, Angel Reese and Aja Wilson were categorized under a section titled, Secondary Influence Tier. The humiliation was suffocating. Fans erupted into chaos, arguing across social platforms. Some defended Clark fiercely. Others accused her of benefiting from favoritism, privilege, media bias, and systemic inequality. Clark watched the drama unfold from her apartment, scrolling through thousands of tweets until her vision blurred. She didn't ask for this. She didn't want to be weaponized against her peers. But the world had already decided. She was the lightning rod by nightfall. The tension had reached a breaking point. Angel Reese posted a cryptic message on Instagram. "They don't want us to win. They don't want us to shine. But watch what happens next." Fans immediately interpreted it as a shot at Clark. Sports networks replayed it non-stop. Commentators fueled the fire. Sponsors panicked. And in the middle of the rising chaos, another leak dropped. One even more shocking. One that would alter everything. A private, audio recording. Someone inside the league had captured a heated conversation between two WNBA executives discussing Clark's financial value. One line echoed through the sports world like a nuclear blast. "If we don't push Clark as the face of the league, we lose millions. Reese and Aja can't carry the revenue projections. She can." Everyone heard it. Everyone reacted, and someone, one of the three women now trapped at the center of the storm, was about to break in a way that would change the league forever. The fallout from the leaked memo and the explosive audio recording didn't simmer, it detonated across the entire sports world like a chain reaction, ripping through every corner of the WNBA overnight. What had started as a financial announcement transformed into a full-scale crisis, the kind that fractures friendships, destroys alliances, and exposes buried truths the league never wanted the world to see. By sunrise, every major outlet had declared the WNBA to be an unprecedented turmoil. Debate shows were running emergency segments. Fans were screaming at each other across social media. Agents were calling their clients non-stop. Sponsors were suddenly unsure about the future of their investments. And deep inside the league offices, executives were scrambling to contain a story that had already spiraled far beyond their control. But while everyone else was reacting, Angel Reese was plotting. She woke up to thousands of mentions across social media, half mocking her, half defending her, and all of them adding gasoline to a fire she could no longer ignore. She stared at the screen, jaw clenched, scrolling through post after post, comparing her to Caitlin Clark. Clark gets $16 million. Reese gets drama. Angel talks. Caitlin earns. Reese should have focused on her game instead of theatrics. Each comment was like a punch to the stomach, and underneath it all, a deep, burning question echoed in her mind. What did Caitlin do that she didn't? Why did the world love Clark and not her? Her phone buzzed. A text from a teammate. "Girl, Are you okay? You know everyone's coming for you." Reese stared at the message without replying, not because she didn't know what to say, but because something inside her had shifted. The doubt, the jealousy, the resentment, the humiliation. Everything she'd bottled up for months was now boiling into one volatile realization. She wasn't losing to Clark on the court. She was losing to Clark everywhere. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson kept her silence, but the league could feel her fury like a silent quake. She had always played the role of the composed leader, the face of professionalism, but this time, the disrespect cut deep. She paced around her kitchen with her phone in her hand, rereading the memo, the audio transcript, the social media reactions. 6 years of MVP-worthy dominance, 2 championships, Olympic gold, record-setting seasons, and one rookie had erased everything. Her phone buzzed again, this time from a reporter asking for a quote. She didn't answer, but the message she drafted and deleted 3 times said everything she wanted to scream. You can crown your princess, but don't disrespect the queens who built the throne. As the tension escalated behind the scenes, Caitlin Clark stepped onto the Fever practice court with a heavy, sinking weight in her chest. The room fell silent again. A teammate she trusted wouldn't even look at her. Coaches whispered behind clipboards. Reporters stared at her like she was a walking headline. She wasn't the villain. She wasn't the puppet master. She never asked to be the center of a league-wide firestorm. All she wanted was to play basketball. But the league had other plans. And now, everyone treated her like she was responsible for the money. She didn't even negotiate herself. The second major twist arrived without warning. Another leak, another bombshell. This time, one that didn't just shake the league. It confirmed everyone's darkest suspicions. A confidential marketing report dated months before Clark even entered the WNBA surfaced online, and its contents were devastating. The report laid out projection models showing that the league had already planned to build its entire 2025-2030 strategy around Clark. Attendance forecasts, merchandise plans, broadcast negotiations, international expansion. Every chart, every graph, every metric pointed to one conclusion. Caitlin Clark is the single most profitable athlete women's basketball has ever produced. But the truly shocking part, the report included another label, athletes listed as non-anchor assets. The names under it, A'ja Wilson, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, Nafisa Collier, Kelsey Plum, even Paige Buchers. Every star the WNBA had spent years uplifting reduced to non-anchor assets. Fans screamed betrayal. Players felt stabbed in the back. Sponsors panicked. Because the document didn't just reveal favoritism, it exposed a long-term plan to prioritize one athlete at the expense of everyone else. Reese saw the list and nearly threw her phone across the room. Nanong, she had millions of supporters, a cultural following, a brand presence no other rookie had ever built, and now the world was being told she was replaceable. Her hands shook with a mix of anger and humiliation. A'ja Wilson read the same document and whispered under her breath. So this was the plan all along. It felt like betrayal, not from Clark, but from the league she had carried for years, the league she helped build, the league that was now willing to abandon her the moment someone newer, younger, and more profitable came along. And while the world exploded in outrage, Caitlin Clark sat alone in the Fever locker room, staring at her shoes, numb and terrified, because the truth hit her all at once. She wasn't the chosen one. She was the pawn. A pawn in a massive league strategy she never asked to be a part of. A pawn the public now blamed. A pawn players resented. A pawn sponsors exploited. Her phone buzzed again, a message from a reporter. Sources say Angel Reese is preparing a public response. Do you want to comment before she speaks? Clark closed her eyes as a cold wave spread across her chest. Angel Reese was about to go public. Spread across her chest. Angel Reese was about to go public. And everyone knew exactly what that meant. If Reese exploded even slightly, the full force of the scandal would shift directly onto Clark. Social media would erupt. Fans would declare war. Players would choose sides. The WNBA would fracture. The story was no longer about money, or endorsements, or rankings. It was now about survival, and somewhere deep inside the league office, an emergency meeting was called. Because the next move, Angel Reese made could shatter the WNBA forever. The moment Angel Reese pressed post, the WNBA entered a level of chaos it had never seen before. Her message wasn't a rant, wasn't a speech, wasn't even a video. It was a single, surgical, career-altering sentence. So the league thinks I'm not an anchor. Bet. Within seconds, the internet detonated. Fans screamed. Analysts scrambled. Influencers, podcasters and sports networks pushed out emergency reaction videos so fast that timelines became unscrollable floods of hot takes. The hashtag not an anchor, climbed to the #1 trend worldwide in less than 7 minutes. But this wasn't just a hashtag. It was a warning, a challenge, a declaration of war, and the world knew exactly who the message was aimed at. Tevin. If Reese never typed Caitlin Clark's name. Comments poured in like a digital tsunami. Angel is fed up. This is the clapback of the year. Caitlin didn't deserve that list, but she's the golden child, I guess. Reese is jealous. This is embarrassing. WNBA favoritism is wild. They set Clark up for this mess. Why are they pitting women against each other again? It wasn't just fans taking sides. It was cities. It was generations. It was cultural lines, racial lines, basketball purists versus entertainment drive-in fans. Every major online community fractured into pieces, clashing in real time beneath Reese's single sentence. And Caitlin Clark. She was silent. Her silence, whether intentional or terrified, made everything worse. Every hour she didn't speak, more rumors spread. Some claimed she was hiding. Others said her PR team told her to stay quiet. Some insisted she didn't care at all, but the truth was far more heartbreaking. Caitlin Clark sat alone in the Fever training room, scrolling through oceans of comments accusing her of being a corporate puppet, a league plant, a money machine built to replace real athletes. The girl who had once been America's sweetheart was suddenly the villain of a story she never wrote. One comment froze her entirely. Caitlin ruined the league without playing a single playoff game. She closed her phone and felt her throat tighten. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson was trending too, not because she spoke, but because she didn't. Fans begged her to comment. Analysts dissected every tweet she'd ever made for hidden meaning. But inside her Vegas home, she sat on the edge of her bed in complete disbelief. For the first time in her career, she didn't know what to say. She wasn't furious at Clark. She wasn't furious at Reese. She was furious at the league that promised to uplift women's basketball and then turned it into a hierarchy built on profitability, not talent. Her phone buzzed with messages from fellow players. Are you seeing this? This is out of control. Do we say something or stay quiet? We need a players' meeting now. In one night, trust inside the WNBA shattered. Players felt betrayed. Executives felt cornered. Sponsors felt exposed. And the league's carefully curated image, empowerment, sisterhood collapsed under the weight of raw, unfiltered reality. But the emotional fallout reached its breaking point when a second wave of leaks hit the internet, this time from inside the Chicago Sky locker room. A young rookie anonymously posted, "I knew Angel was mad, but tonight she cried. This isn't just basketball anymore. She feels like everything she's built is disappearing." The post went viral instantly. Sympathy for Reese skyrocketed. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. Maybe she wasn't jealous. Maybe she was hurt. Maybe she was exhausted from always playing the villain. Maybe she was tired of fighting a system that had already chosen its champion. But the empathy didn't last long. A new leak surfaced. Internal document. This one detailed upcoming league marketing plans for 2026 through 2028. On the cover, a massive full-page image of Caitlin Clark. Beneath it, projected revenue numbers tied entirely to Clark's branding value. And at the bottom, a note in bold. Secondary athletes may be rotated in for diversity and market balance. Secondary athletes: Reese Wilson, Boston, Plum. Everyone. Who wasn't Clark? The outrage was immediate and volcanic. This is sickening. They're using these women as props. Clark didn't do this. The league did. Everyone should boycott until they fix this. No wonder Angel snapped. The WNBA, once unified, was now split into factions. Team Clark, arguing she earned her success. Team Reese, arguing she was being erased. Team Wilson, demanding justice for the veterans. Team Burn It All Down, calling for a league-wide strike. The emotional weight was unbearable. Clark cried quietly in the locker room, soundlessly, desperately wishing she could undo the last 24 hours. Reese turned off her phone, curled into bed, and whispered to herself, "Why do they hate me so much?" A'ja stared out her window at the Vegas skyline, wondering how the league she loved could betray her so deeply. As the sun set on the most chaotic day in WNBA history, something else happened. A message was posted, anonymous, short, terrifying. More leaks coming soon, and the next one will change everything. The sports world froze, because no one knew what was coming next. But everyone knew this. The WNBA would never be the same again. Just when the WNBA thought the chaos had reached its peak, when executives believed they had seen the worst of the leaks, the whispers, the fractures, the real bombshell dropped. Not a rumor, not a guess, not a misinterpreted report, but a leak so catastrophic, so devastating to reputations and relationships that insiders later said, this was the moment everything truly broke. It began with a single notification on a burner account someone had been monitoring all day. A message popped up. Drop 3. The truth about the list. Fans clicked instantly. Players clicked instantly. Executives panicked instantly. The document wasn't a projection this time. It was a conversation transcript. A private, closed-door discussion between top WNBA executives, data analysts, and league strategists speaking with a level of candor they never imagined would be heard by the public. The file was titled, League Value Prioritization, Confidential. And the first line sent the world into paralysis. Caitlin Clark is the only player whose financial metrics justify top-tier investment. Everyone else is replaceable? The room froze. The internet froze. Lives froze. Because the next line was worse. Angel Reese's brand is volatile. A'ja Wilson has peaked. Market projections do not justify long-term commitment. Screenshots spread like wildfire. Angel Reese's blood ran cold as she read her name labeled volatile. She wasn't jealous, now she was furious. Betrayed, dehumanized, reduced to a risk factor on a spreadsheet created by people who never once stepped foot into a locker room. A'ja Wilson stared at the phrase has peaked and felt something collapse inside her chest. Years of sacrifice, leadership, advocacy dismissed in 2 words. 2 words that told her the league didn't see her as a legend, they saw her as a depreciating asset. But Caitlin Clark, she read the transcript in horror. She wasn't uplifted by the praise, she was terrified by it. Because the next line in the document exposed something even darker. Push Clark as the face. Isolate her from internal tension. Her market value outweighs all potential backlash. Isolate her. The word hit like a punch to the heart. Suddenly, everything made sense. The distance from teammates. The whispers behind her back. The subtle changes in behavior. The praise that felt unnatural. The pressure that felt suffocating. She wasn't being elevated. She was being set apart by design. Engineered to be alone. Engineered to be untouchable. Engineered to be the centerpiece of a machine that cared more about revenue than human beings. And then came the final line. The one that detonated the league's entire foundation. If other players become disruptive, allow internal conflict to push them out. Clark's position must remain uncontested until at least 2030. A collective gasp spread across the sports world. Push them out. Was this all intentional? Is the WNBA manipulating rivalries on purpose? Did they want Reese and Clark to feud? Is A'ja being phased out? What kind of league is this? Within minutes, thousands flooded social media with accusations of corruption, favoritism, manipulation, and emotional exploitation. Fans demanded answers. Players demanded meetings. Sponsors demanded emergency calls. And Caitlin Clark, she broke. Not publicly, not dramatically, but in the rawest, quietest way possible. She grabbed her practice jersey, walked out the side door of the Fever facility, and disappeared into the night. Her coaches called, she didn't pick up. Teammates texted, no response. Even her closest family members were left on red dot because for the first time since entering the spotlight, Caitlin Clark understood the full truth. They hadn't built her up for greatness, they had built her up for control. She wasn't the golden girl, she was the golden cage. And now the cage was starting to crack. Angel Reese, meanwhile, slammed her fist on the counter after reading the transcript. Everything she had suspected for months, the favoritism, the manufactured storylines, the constant comparisons had been real, not imagined, not exaggerated. Real. Her voice trembled as she whispered, they used me, they used all of us. As she whispered, they used me, they used all of us. A'ja Wilson wiped tears from her eyes, tears of anger, not sadness. She realized the league she fought to uplift had been quietly preparing to replace her. But the biggest shock was still coming, because 30 minutes after the transcript leak, a new statement appeared online. From the WNBA, not from a journalist, not from a burner account, but from a source that instantly silenced millions. This story is not complete. The final leak drops tomorrow, and it will destroy the WNBA's biggest secret. The world went still. What secret? Whose secret? How deep did the manipulation run? Had players been controlled? Were rivalries planted? Were salaries influenced? Were careers sacrificed? For the first time, nobody blamed Clark. Nobody blamed Reese. Nobody blamed Aja. They blamed the machine, and the machine was about to be exposed. The WNBA had entered its darkest hour, and the next reveal threatened to burn the entire empire to the ground. And now, you need to decide what happens next, because this story isn't slowing down. It's accelerating faster than the league can contain it. The leaked transcript, the exposed favoritism, the emotional implosions in locker rooms from Chicago to Las Vegas, none of this ends here. In fact, insiders are already warning that the final leak dropping tomorrow is going to be the most devastating WNBA scandal in history. But before that explodes, I need you to weigh in on one burning question. Who is the real victim in all of this? Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, or Aja Wilson? Because let's be honest, every player involved just had their careers shaken to the core. Caitlin Clark didn't ask to be put on a pedestal engineered by executives. Angel Reese didn't ask to be labeled volatile behind closed doors. Aja Wilson didn't deserve to be quietly written off as past her peak. This wasn't a rivalry. This wasn't a feud. This wasn't natural competition. This was manipulation at the highest level. And the WNBA just got caught. So right now, I want everyone watching to drop a comment. Is the WNBA rigging the narrative? Did the league intentionally create Clark versus Reese? Is Aja Wilson being pushed out of the future plans? Who deserves justice the most? Go off in the comments, don't hold back. And listen, you need to subscribe right now, because we already have confirmation from insiders. The next leak involves a player none of us expected. A player whose name hasn't even entered the conversation yet. A player who could flip this entire scandal upside down. A player whose involvement could force the league into emergency restructuring. Turn on ALL notifications, because the next chapter drops soon, and when it does, it will change everything you think you know about the WNBA, its stars, its politics, and the empire built around Caitlin Clark. This isn't drama anymore. This is a full-blown reckoning. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. It's coming next.